Okay, so every single day you probably grab a pan to cook a meal. It's a choice we barely think about. But what if that simple choice actually has a real, measurable impact on your health? Well, we're going to dig in and find out.
So I want you to picture your kitchen right now. Think about that one pan, your go-to pan, the one you use for literally everything, from your morning eggs to a quick weeknight dinner. It's just so easy, right? But here's the question. Could that trusty pan be, well, a bit of a health risk every time you use it?
And look, if you're thinking this, you are definitely not alone. This quote from a Reddit user really hits home for a lot of people. It's that moment when you look at your scratched up pan and suddenly realize, wait a minute, could this actually be bad for me? It perfectly captures that feeling that maybe, just maybe, our favorite kitchen tools have a hidden secret.
All right, so let's zoom in on the undisputed champion of the modern kitchen, the nonstick pan. I mean, the appeal is obvious, right? Food just glides right off, cleanup is a breeze. But to really get to the bottom of this, we need to pull back the curtain and see what's really making that surface so slick.
So that magic ingredient, it's a plastic polymer called, wait for it, polytetrafluoroethylene. Yeah, it's a mouthful, so we'll just call it PTFE. But you probably know it by its famous brand name, Teflon. Now here's the key takeaway. PTFE belongs to a much bigger and frankly more notorious family of chemicals known as PFAS, and that's a name you're going to want to remember.
So, how exactly can this super convenient coating actually affect our health? Well, it turns out there are three main ways this can happen: through everyday scratches, through fumes when it gets too hot, and through those forever chemicals we just mentioned. So let's break down all three.
Okay, get ready for this number because it is absolutely mind-blowing. A study in 2022 found that a single little scratch, we're talking just 2 inches long, can release 2.3 million microplastic particles straight into your food. Think about how many little nicks and scratches are on your pan right now. While scientists are still figuring out all the long-term effects, ingesting these plastics is a growing concern. So why are these plastics and chemicals such a big deal? Well, remember that PFAS family? They're called forever chemicals for a very literal reason. Their chemical structure is so tough, they just don't break down. Not in the soil, not in the water, and, this is the scary part, not in our bodies. So they just build up over time. It's a process called bioaccumulation, and it's the reason why scientists are so concerned.
And it's not just about scratches. There's also a more immediate danger. You know how sometimes you walk away from the stove and forget the pan is on high heat? We've all done it. Well, if a nonstick pan gets too hot, we're talking over 570 degrees Fahrenheit, that coating can actually start to break down and release toxic fumes. And if you breathe those in, you can get something called Teflon flu, which feels, well, exactly like the flu, with fever, chills, the whole deal.
Okay, so this isn't just speculation or some scary what-if scenario. There's a ton of research out there that's connecting the dots between being exposed to these chemicals and some very real, very serious health problems. So let's look at what the actual studies are showing us. Take a look at this huge study from Italy published just this year. They looked at 150,000 people who were exposed to PFAS through their water supply, and the results are pretty sobering. They found significantly higher rates of death from heart disease. Not only that, but they also saw more kidney and testicular cancer. Now, you might be thinking, that's water, not cookware. But here's the thing, it's the exact same class of forever chemicals. This study gives us a terrifyingly clear picture of what long-term exposure can do. So what are these chemicals actually doing inside our bodies? Well, they're basically imposters. They mess with our hormone system. Recent studies have used computer models to show that PFAS can literally get in the way and block our thyroid hormones from doing their job. And your thyroid, that controls your metabolism, your brain function. It's a big deal. What's even more concerning is another study that linked PFAS exposure in pregnant mothers to slower development of motor skills in their baby boys. It just shows how sensitive we are to these chemicals, especially during development.
All right, so at this point, you're probably thinking, okay, got it, I'm throwing out my nonstick pans. The solution seems simple, right? Just switch to something that's labeled non-toxic. But, here's where things get a little tricky. It turns out that non-toxic label doesn't always mean what you think it means, and some of the most popular alternatives have their own problems.
So let's compare the two big players in the safe cookware space. First up, you've got those trendy ceramic pans. But here's the catch. Most of them aren't solid ceramic. They're actually metal pans with a super thin ceramic-like coating. The problem? Companies often aren't transparent about what's in that coating, and some have been found to contain things like titanium dioxide nanoparticles. Then you've got good old stainless steel. It's a solid, durable choice for sure, but it's not totally without issues.
It can leach metals like nickel and chromium into your food, especially if you're cooking something acidic.
And this chart really tells the story. You don't have to be a scientist to see what's happening here. Researchers cooked tomato sauce in a stainless steel pot, and boom, look at the spike in nickel and chromium levels in the sauce. For most of us, this might not be a huge deal, but if you have a metal allergy or sensitivity, this is exactly why cooking something like a long-simmering pasta sauce in stainless steel could be a problem. And let's just circle back to those nanoparticles and some ceramic coatings for a second. This isn't a minor thing. The European Union has actually banned titanium dioxide nanoparticles as a food additive because of potential health risks. So while they're not banned in the pan itself, the fact that they can get into your food while you cook is a massive red flag.
Okay, so nonstick has issues, and some of the safe alternatives have their own hidden problems. You might be feeling a bit lost right now, thinking, so what am I supposed to cook with? But don't worry, there is a clear answer. Let's talk about the solutions that are transparent, simple, and have been trusted for, well, centuries.
And this is where cast iron and carbon steel come into the picture. They are beautifully simple. The ingredients? Iron and carbon. That's it. There are no chemical coatings to worry about. The nonstick surface? You create it yourself, naturally, with oil, a process called seasoning. These pans will literally last forever. You can pass them down to your kids. Plus, here's a cool little health hack. Cast iron can actually add small, beneficial amounts of iron to your food, which is great for your energy levels.
So when you really think about it, the pan you choose is a decision you make over and over, every single day. It comes into direct contact with the food you and your family eat. And after seeing all of this, from the forever chemicals and microplastics to the hidden nanoparticles, it's clear this isn't just about which pan is easiest to clean. It's about knowing what you're cooking with. So the next time you're in your kitchen, I want you to ask yourself, what's really in my pan?